Today we have a special meeting for the elections for the meeting of the St. District, and basically we have an agenda on the first up and follow.
So Delbert Amber
Here.
Mr. Roland Molinar. Here. This is Lisa Harris Moorhead. This is Liana Bernardo. Mr. W. Ross Jr. Here. Mr. Glenn Webster here. Mr. Raymond Williams here. General, 5 members present, 2 members absent.
Thank you. Do you have any elections system staff members and staff present? Please.
Debbie Whitaker, Deputy Supervisor, St. Croix.
Do your comments up to basically, anyone from the public wish to give the name, please?
Evelyn Batson, concerned citizen.
What's the name?
Who?
Oh, sorry. This morning, basically, we call this meeting to clear up some primary elections when we have to settle the polling places. So, to save some time, I think Mr. Williams, myself, and Mr. O'Neill, and Mr. Molina visited some locations in Christ with the primary. Mr. Williams, if you have a drawing and sketches that you have, you can go over. And basically what it is, since we only using 5 schools, we visited those locations and checked for the electricity, the availability of space, exit, entrance, and how we're going to set up the station, the DS200, and the automatic machines. We're going to start from a first visit to the Alexander School. Right?
I put there.
I guess under new business, the issues. I think that the key and the most pertinent issue that we need to discuss is getting the ADA requirements met. So I think what I would like to offer is that we do what we've done in the past with the Lions Advocacy Council. I think that's the name of the group down by Sunshine Law. If we can contract them to visit the schools, that we would, the 5 schools again, and offer us their ideas and thoughts on what we may need to do to make it ADA compliant. I think that we pretty much have the working knowledge, because the 4 of us that went out saw the different areas. I know at Ricardo Richards, for example, there's a need for probably a temporary ramp at the exit. At all those schools, the handicap access, they need to be painted. I think there's still some signs that are missing that need to be redone, and there may be a need for a railing in 1 or 2 of those locations. So if we can get them to go and visit the schools and give us a quick report, we can, using HAMA funds, we can have those corrections made prior to the primary. So that is, I think, the greatest and the most outstanding issue. The second issue, I'm sorry.
What we need to look at is basically which location we're speaking about.
Okay, exactly.
Improvement.
Okay. Right. Well, in terms of the painting, the signage, it's all 5 schools. I know at Henderson was in pretty good shape in terms of signage and the markings, but it can't hurt us to have them redone, and more importantly to get the VIAC group out as soon as possible to give us a report on those schools, because that will help us with not only the primary but also for the general election. At the complex, where we have 4 polling sites, in the cafeteria, the lighting again is an issue that we need to revisit. That was an issue 2 years ago. It was supposedly fixed, repaired, but the lighting is not the best. I think that's something we need to speak to the school maintenance person about in terms of getting the lighting improved. For Ricardo complex.
Splitting complex into.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm talking about issues, but I don't know if you guys have any other things that you remember.
Electricity.
Well, the electricity was good in all the schools because I tested the outlets at most of the schools. We're going to have a need for quite a few extension cords. In my notes I had at Henderson, probably Larson, and also the auditorium at Juanita Garden. We're gonna need at least 5 extension, the 50-foot extension cords to be able to connect the BS200 and the Apple Mark, as well as for the e-pool books.
I have a suggestion about being ADA compliant. We have an ADA coordinator in the territory. So this could work not just for St. Croix, but for St. Thomas also. Just get in touch with Ms. Stephan, I'm sure she could. There's a checklist that you have to go through. I think I gave it to Ms.
Well, let's correction, a couple of things. This Armstrong, Denise, the intern had prepared, in fact, it's actually not complete as we sit here. She had to prepare the checklist, ADA compliant checklist, which I believe is complete. Just a little quick correction. Arguably, we're probably using Health and Human Services funds, and just to let you know, we haven't drawn down, we're working on drawing down the funds for this past fiscal year. Last year, of course, there was no reporting last year before we came on board. Just so you know, we would be, through this, we've sub-granted, the Advocacy Council has been a sub-grantee previously, and so it's a matter of just, going through the paperwork and drawing down the funds.
Yeah, and I think it's imperative that we do that because, I mean, we can pretty much detail and determine from our knowledge and our skill sets, but it'll be a better confirmation if they give us a report and so that we can have that implemented. I don't know if anybody else had any other issues that they wanted to highlight.
I think Mr. Williams, I don't want to say sometime when I look at the principal, that is dependent on it.
Right, no, that's
related. And the more the concern we have with the schools and the user studies, they have the maintenance people working there, but just at one time rather than looking individually for maintenance and construction, improvements and heating. They probably have I think the general name is Matthews.
Yeah.
Always was new. But he's the man.
Yeah, I know Matthews.
Yeah.
So are you directing the supervisor's office or because one thing's happening right now is that we're sending a letter to the commissioner. So we probably want to
Commissioner of
Education. And so would you, as a board, do you want us to basically, in drafting a letter to the commissioner, being the superintendent, for instance, St. Croix District, Mr. Malloy, addressing these concerns, and particularly addressing the structural issues or what?
Well, if you want, I could create the information to put in the letter, but I'll also send them a text upfront, letting them know that to look for, to look for that coming, because so we can have those things completed beforehand.
Anybody else have any questions? Again, to place on Mr. Rapper.
You made reference to 3 areas of concern: the ADA compliance, the electrical needs, at the size, and the third one.
Yeah, that's all I'm not getting.
That's the ADA. Those are the only 2 then.
Major objection, yeah.
And you mentioned around to
Yeah, all of that, yeah, for Ricardo Richards on temporary. Elena, I see, that's what I said, maybe if we could get him to do the tool, they could tell us better what the needs would be.
So this violence and this success, how it did that we wanted to go with herself, or she just wanted to
Stephanie. Well, okay, well, you can check
Go
it
work
out.
something.
Okay, I'd say if she's willing to do it, and then,
With Terrell, you could go on one. She could do like a one. She has like there's a checklist.
yeah, I'm familiar with it,
I
yeah.
think, and I look at the checklist, and once we do that, I think we made you guys did it in 2020. I was telling you earlier, I mean, it really looked well and everything the last time.
Well, I mean, that's even a fast side work. If Stephanie to just look at it, then that'll be okay. You ready to go to the layout?
Sure. Any other questions?
Relative to the layout, in the 5 schools that we visited that we're using,
Excuse me, before you go forward, we need to mention to the record that Mr. Terrell was there with us.
right.
Couldn't get it the wrong name if he wasn't joining, so I don't want to wait for you to be just walk around.
What's the word? Okay, at starting at Henderson School, from what we looked at Henderson School, we have the polling precincts, Henderson, Badamarco, St. George's Hall. If you don't, I don't have drawings today because I haven't time to make drawings, but hopefully for our next meeting on the 2nd, I'll be able to produce drawings. But if you can conceptualize what's going to take place is that as you enter Henderson School, to the north, the first door closest to the parking lot, at the back of the auditorium, we can basically have the 3 polling places running concurrent side by side to each other. The process flow would be you start at the front at the entry clerks, or you'll have 2 entry clerks and a facilitator who's going to be handing out the ballots. The next step is if you're going to mark your ballot, the next step is to look at the voting stations. We'll have 13 voting stations for each school based on the number of what we have in stock. So we'll have 13 voting stations. After the voting stations, you'll have the DS200. We need to determine out of 21 machines divided by 14 precincts. That's basically a machine and a half, so there's no such thing. So I'm figuring that we're going to have 1 machine for each precinct. So you'll have the voting station, entry, registration, you get your ballot, you have the voting stations. After that, you'll have the DS200 and the automark. If you sign in, when you sign into the e-poll, they'll offer you the option of using the automark or the DS200. If you're using the automark, you bypass the polling voting stations, go directly. What I'm recommending is that we have, we looked at those chairs in the cafeterias, and those things are in deplorable shape. Something that we're going to fold up all those tables, and we need to at least have 20 chairs, 20 folding chairs for each of those stations, so that people can sit while they wait to use the automark. If you use the DS200, you go directly to that, you vote, everything is okay, you proceed to the exit clerk. If the exit clerk, if you had an issue marking your ballot and the DS200 told you that you overvoted in whatever category, you now move to another area where we have the red, white and blue things there like that. Try 4 things, whatever that thing is. Those boots?
The red one.
Yeah, the red. Look, that also has a handicap accessible one paragraph. We'll have a facilitator for just to deal specifically with persons that overvoted, so that if you overvoted, you give that facilitator your ballot. There's a bin that you'll deposit that in. They'll give you a new one. You go to that area, record your vote again, come back into the queue, and then you vote on the DS200. And then when you're through voting, you exit through, there's a side door that you go through, and you coming back out to exit, you'll, what is it? You'll have the the exit clerks. So there will be an exit clerk for each of the polling precincts. In terms of numbers for election day officials, we're estimating about 27 election day officials for each polling site. You have a judge, you're going to have 3 facilitators, a judge, 3 facilitators, 2 monitors to assist along the voting booth area. You'll have 2 entry clerks and 1 exit clerk for each of the schools, the polling sites. So an average of 27 each. Now the nuances that we saw is at that's pretty much Henderson that I discussed. But at Ricardo Richards, for example, okay.
Before you go into that, just want to let you know, this is facts and causes of listening.
The facts? Hello?
I'm here.
Okay, good, thank you. Ruka?
So there'll be my first question, maybe 1 judge then at Henderson?
No, 1 judge per polling precinct.
Oh, okay.
So a judge for Henderson.
You said a total of 26, and then you said 1 judge.
Oh, and I'm just going by each polling precinct. Yeah, 1 judge for each polling precinct.
Okay, fair.
So you have 14 judges. For all the precincts, there we have 14 precincts.
I'm at Henderson.
Okay.
Don't rush me.
Okay.
So at Henderson you have 3 judges.
Right. 1 for Marco, 1 for
How many inspectors are working on the poll?
You have 2 for each polling site. 2 entry and 1 exit.
Regarding the post.
Okay, you can't have inspectors. I was having them clerk. But if you want to use the word inspector versus clerk, you're going to have 2 inspectors at the entry and 1 clerk at the exit per school. Because remember, when you exited, now you're going to sign it out.
I'm aware.
Yeah. So with the 13 polling stations where you mark your ballot, you'll have 2 monitors. And the purpose of the monitor, just for everybody's information, is to assist. If someone is marking a ballot and they have a question relative to what do I do, the monitor can just basically give them a reference. So you're going to color in the oval. They can't tell them who to color in, or the elector can ask the monitor, like I was explaining to Roland at this time, you can't ask the monitor who I should vote for, questions around that. They can only ask, like, am I doing this correctly by marking the oval completely? Or can I put an X over it? Or do I circle the whole name? Those are kind of questions the monitor can answer. And that's it.
And monitor the machine to make sure that if something goes wrong with it.
Correct. If somebody has a problem, the facilitator would have to be the one to
The monitor and the machine.
No, the monitors are the pollers and the marking stations.
Okay.
Good.
Who's keeping an eye on the use of the machine?
The facilitator. There's several facilitators. One that gives the ballot, there's one that deals with the spoiled ballot issue. So that person will be looking, if somebody insulted the paper, bent up or whatever, could go around.
Sideways.
Right, or something, whatever the problem that could exist. The facilitator will be the one to identify it and be able to call the technician if that's required. If it's just a matter of somebody misreading or they're not sure, if a message shows up on the screen telling you overvoted, or not overvoted, but you did mark all your selections in the various categories, and it pops up on the screen, and the elector is not sure what that means, the facilitator can answer that question by simply telling them, you didn't complete your ballot. You can either accept it that way by undervoting, but because we passed the policy that there will be programmed, the machines will be programmed so you can't overvote. So it's just a question of undervoting. Stuff like that, the facilitator can assist with.
Why we should decide anyway? with Henderson, right? I usually work both at St. Gerard Hall.
Right.
When I get to Henderson,
Right.
what happens?
We're going to have signage that tells you this is Henderson, this is Clarabaco, this is,
So then I go to, okay.
you go directly to the airport precinct.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
And then
That's
you
what
go
I
through
did.
that same process.
In other words, within the same, you have 3 aisles.
Right.
One on each side and one in the middle. And I think we agreed that you put the balance,
Right.
registration balance, to the people
Oh, yeah.
outside.
Right.
So when you come in, you don't have to be taxing too many places and to be able to, in line, you can look at the process going to the machine. So
At the entry of the schools, we put all the required election laws, how to use the machines, you know, the sample ballots, all of that will be at each school. Now, like I was saying, the nuances are Henderson, Baldy, and Juanita, the auditorium, those 3 are basically designed the same. The difference on Juanita is that we're going to use both the auditorium and the cafeteria. So we'll put one pole in place in a auditorium. We'll utilize the stage. You know, you come in through one door, you go down, you sign in, you cast, you mark your ballot, go up on the stage, insert your ballot into the DS200, or if you're using the auto mark, we have to provide some chairs on the stage.
The stage is not handicap accessible.
Yes, they have a handicap access. And one you got yeah, there's
I was thinking, even to that, if you become an issue, you said any time on the stage, it wouldn't hurt to put the machines right in front of the stage.
The problem with them being off at the stage is not much space. So you have a major queuing issue. So that's why you need to use this.
Handicap accessible.
Yes, handicap accessible.
Another generic area that we need to notify innovative to go and check all it.
What I recommended is that if we can pay the judge an additional $20 to use a cell phone, because that's a savings for us. When you deal with innovative, all the phone, the drops are in every school. They're there existing, but to activate them and the cost, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have to pay for like a whole month of service. How do we use it one day? So that's something we need to look into to see if that's all I'm saying. Miss Fox, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay, that must be upset. But yeah, you know, the consideration of paying the judge extra $20 to use their cell phone instead of using innovative, you know, that is something we need to look at to find out the cost.
Because, you know, you talk about paying what, extra what, $40? What?
The judges, you hearing it?
I'm hearing it. Oh, but what is, I know they were passing the law. What was the last update that they had in the law? You want to say pay extra?
Oh, no, we're talking about paying them to use their cell phones instead of using innovative.
Oh, the phone.
Yeah, the cell phone.
Oh, okay, that's what we consider.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, because it should reduce the cost for budgeted costs for installing the phone through innovative.
So I think most of the schools we had lines that we could drop in there.
Yeah.
So we're not going to drop the lines in there, or we don't want to use the phone.
The lines are already there from previous elections.
Correct.
I think we need to determine or find out from innovative what the cost is to activate those lines. You follow me?
Correct.
Okay, but what I'm suggesting is that we just pay the judge an extra $20 to use their cell phones. Because if all the drops are in one location, if you have the polling places distributed based on how we're looking at it, that means that judge now has to walk over to get to the phone, to have access to the phone, as opposed to using their cell phone. But I think the driving factor is finding out the cost for the service using the innovative.
But that's part of the contract already. All they do is turn it off and turn it on. So they were talking to us already, especially in September, because since we moved to this new building and they say that it's still in the package, it's there. So I'll find out and get back to you.
Yeah.
I think every election year they just have to turn them on and they turn them off, so it's already what is in it.
Excuse me, Mrs. Fox, morning.
And yes, and it's also talk about cell phones, so I'm checking to see, that's after then we could get cell phones that you out here, using the cell phones and you get them to turn them on and turn them off the same way.
Okay, whichever option works.
Except if I may, the line is there, but we are not really sure if I think we took some of them line anyway.
That's true.
And they have to test them and they have to activate them. They hang it on the wall. And we know how children operate in some of the schools already. They stick all kind of things in them, some could have the tip. So you have to pay them to come to test them, activate them, and then disconnect them again. So I don't see and be a problem with the contracts to provide the service if they're not providing the service under contract agreement. You taking on from them, it's just the people being already involved in the election system, utilizing the same technology that they're going to use. They have cell phones, right? Employees have cell phones when they go to work, they're receiving the 4,000 for telco, for calling repairs. And if we have a way to use some of the cars for them to test the lines, they'll charge us for it anyway, and they have to test them and they're hanging there, because all year we pay for it. They're testing them. So when you call them, you're actually activating the contract to begin the testing and activating them and taking them out again. So if they activate them, you don't want them no more. And I don't think no employee for that day will receive 20, 25,000 use a phone for the primary, and to work for the primary, we just use it for the election and done. Okay, you have to pay them twice to do the same thing, because from the primary to the general election, anything that happens to those phone lines. And they use a different system now anyway, right?
So,
Check the cell phone and see if you get cell phone.
well, explore the options.
Yes, I will.
Okay. And then, so that's pretty much Henderson, that covers Henderson. At Juanita Garden, in the auditorium, we're going to set up two of the sites in the auditorium. Again, they'll go to the entry inspectors, they'll be given a ballot. Along one wall to the west, you'll have one school, and on the east, you'll have another school. When they are done voting, there's going to be one main exit, so everybody goes out. I was explaining to some of the newer members that, we have to make sure that there's no collusion of electors coming in to vote and then they want double back to talk to somebody, and that the judges have to ensure that once you vote, you go out the exit. There's no doubling back to talk to somebody, or I want to talk to my friend, no. And that's why you have the monitors and the facilitators as well. The complex. In the complex, we'll have Eulalie Rivera and Williams. They'll be using the auditorium. Same concept, you enter. You know that there's two main aisles down. Okay, Eulalie go down one main aisle, Evelyn Williams go down one main aisle, and they go down and they come outwards. They'll go to the inspector, from the inspector to the marking station. If they're gonna mark the ballot, if not, they go straight to the automark, and then they vote. They cast the ballot. They go to the exit clock, and they go. There are two doors in the auditorium that they can exit, so they don't have to exit and enter the same door. Come in one door, you exit out another one. In the cafeteria, we'll have Charles H. and Alfredo Andrews. Similar design, they come in through one door for one school and a side door for another school. So the key thing is signage. We have to have sufficient signage, which I know we have, and we have a lot of directional arrowed signs, so that when you come down the long hallway by the music room, you come through that gate, immediately the signs will tell you, if you're going to Lily and Evan Williams, you go to the auditorium. If you're going to vote at Charles H. and Alfredo Andrews, you go to the cafeteria. So we have to have sufficient signage showing everything, because I think the further out we put the signage, the better opportunity for an elected to come stop, read it, get their instructions, look at the sample ballot if they want to, make their own selections and money, whatever they want to do, without holding up the line. Because the key to it is the queuing. You have one DS200, everybody has to utilize, so you want to make sure that that queuing stays fluid. You don't want to be standing up there, doting, and you want to make sure that stays fluid. My concern, one of the other concerns that Ricardo Richards is the distance that people are going to walk. It's going to be quite a distance to walk. The only thing that I see that's not going to be a problem is for the handicap, because the handicap ramp, you can drive all the way down and access a walkway that will take you into the entry. Now, I guess the decision that we need to make at Ricardo is whether or not we're going to have there are two entries, one at the north and at the south. The one at the north, you would have to walk down from as you park, walk straight down, and then you head west to get into that one polling place. I don't know how the board feels about that. It's a little bit of a walk. Either we can do that, or we can have everybody come through the east entrance. Just separate, send them to the school, or if they're going to that school, or send them to the other school. I am thinking that either scenario can work. In terms of consideration to the electors, just have everybody come in one door. If you're voting at Lumaco, you come in the door, you make an immediate right, straight down. You're voting at Ricardo Richards, you come in, stop, and go through the process. So I would recommend that we just use one entrance to the north, to the south. For both schools.
So not one.
Right, so because that's a long walk to go around to come to the north door.
Using the exit.
The exit is common, the exit is common for both schools.
No, I mean the exit to the back wall that we need to build around.
The ramp, yeah.
You're still going to use
Yes,
that?
for them to exit to go.
So, but if two schools are going through one entrance, why can't we use the exit on the south side to go back up instead of building a ramp there?
That's doable. I'm just concerned.
Because you're using it.
Right. My consideration was the walk that the people have to make.
I think because you realize that people are driving in to drop off people
Right.
coming up, so you have to the police department don't want to stand up there to direct the traffic. Then you utilize that area to come in and come out. As you come in, you go right and so we can sing. And if you go walk in, we're going to park across the street and still come through that gate. So you have to make signs outside two gates to accommodate those people who dropping off or any physically challenged individual to go in and out. Because somebody say, well, I come out and I say you're coming in. If you know you won't have the two exit entries they use, people will park outside still anyway, except that some individual will still want to drive in to get as close as possible to the southern side of the. I don't think it'll be a problem to do that. Once they get in, if they won't go, they know basically some signs and what.
My concern was also, are you going to set it up similar when you come through the north entrance, have the two sign-in tables facing north? In other words, your two sign-in clerks or entrance, facing north, and the people, the voters who come in, their backs facing north when they come in to sign in. So you'll have the two tables and then go flow backwards.
Well, my thought is have just at that singular entrance, you have the entry inspectors for Ricardo Richards here, and then anybody voting at Lumaco, they walk down that wall to their their entry, that sort of thing.
So similar like that. Sign in,
Right.
boots, out of mark,
Yes.
AS200, make a mistake,
Right.
water,
Right.
and then out the door. This door,
Yeah, the back door,
because
right.
you'll enter here,
Right.
and then you flow down. And
Right.
then you'll have the two sign-ins up here
There you go.
and flow down. So it's similar to what you did would be at Henderson.
Correct.
Okay.
So, like I was saying, at the complex, signage is the key there. Paul Larson is similar to Henderson, similar setup. So, and they can use that one exit that you showed us. At Henderson, the nuances for the handicap, you got to come down a very long way at the back of the school, because that's where the handicap access is at. The only other thing I can think about,
And Henderson, you know,
not Henderson,
Carter.
no, East, Paulby.
Bobby.
Electioneering. The law requires, and Robert, you and Lord know as well, that in the morning it works, but by noon, and later in the afternoon, the police ain't telling nobody nothing. So, but the goal is that we need to notify the police yet still again. They have to keep the electioneering zone free, so people can have free access, so they don't have to be bombarded by people at electioneering coming in and out. So we need to try to see how we can work on that. And,
I think, Mr. Williams, what we need to do is sometime, maybe a week or two before the primary or the general election, have the chief of police and the deputies come in.
Come in.
Simple, that's all. They will have enough time for 2 weeks ahead to make sure they have the manpower or the officers under their command to understand what we're doing. And sometime when the election comes, being working in before, the officers will get sick of fever and no show up.
yeah, that or
They will know ahead of time.
it's more time alignment than doing it.
And maybe we can probably have this period code.
Sure.
Understood.
Sure.
Officer Vanderpool has reached out to us.
Okay.
He's asked to meet with myself and the supervisor this week. So does any board member want to be included in that meeting?
Who's from
Dennis,
police or
from police.
What's his title?
He's, well, I'm not sure his official title.
Benson,
No, Vanderpool. Dennis Vanderpool.
so Lieutenant Vanderpool.
So he's going to be in charge of security for
That's right.
election.
Yeah, that's right. So if anybody wants to be included in the meeting, after this meeting, I was going to reach back out to him because he contacted me late yesterday. So.
I'll be within the con.
But they will meet with them, we still have to meet with his
Superior.
They don't know the way because they'll have some time.
In terms of tables and chairs, I suspect that we're gonna need, in my mind fundamentally, at least we need a table for every judge. We're gonna need, in some schools there are tables, some schools are not. Some schools have them long, them then actually go full up and move them out of the way. So we're
well, at Henderson, we use them as barriers.
right, yeah, same thing with them, to keep the flow.
Channel people.
Right.
And I guess unlike primaries, this is not in the middle of a school year.
Yeah.
So it's in summer, so it's not that
Right.
no flexibility. Don't use it in school equipment.
So I figure you're gonna need 3, 6. You're gonna need at least 8 tables. Them 2 by 8, I think, for each, for the 5, for 8 tables. I'll build them up and give you that. I'll say to resolve them, and at least 20 chairs for
each
business.
side?
Huh?
For each
No,
side?
not for each side. For the total, for the whole school. For the whole school. For each of the schools, of the 5 schools.
So what? Again, I'm
break it up for you.
Where would you need tables at, high?
For the judge,
Or where would you need to rent tables for Henderson?
because if they don't, they had like 3 tables when we visited. 3 other tables like this size, one a little smaller. They only had 3. Besides that big long tables.
The other tables are dangerous.
When we use Henderson,
First time around,
the school provided the tables to the custodial work.
The regular tables like this. Oh.
They have tables in the teachers' lounge. And,
Oh,
you know, I mean, we could rent the tables if you want to.
but
It's just another
cost.
cost to the system.
Good.
the teachers will understand and most of the station have some of the same too.
Oh, okay.
They have tables on the site. It's just a matter of, and we didn't mention custodial workers. I assume that's part
Right,
of us.
that has to be
We
part of
have
it.
a custodial worker for each site. But we just basically tell them what we want. Because they have those items within the school.
Now,
The only school I recall us having to have tables was in Caravations.
and we got tables at the complex.
And the complex, because the complex is going to be moving, but the Caravations, and each will have some tables here, outside,
Right.
all the time. I don't know if we need the tables for the other schools.
And maybe when you take any good teachers on and then also station to put negative program to the top.
My only concern with that is that it's summertime. The custodial worker, we're gonna have to, we always pay them to work for the board for that day. But my consideration is who's gonna move all those tables to the sites for us. Yeah, so
Who's gonna move them if we rent them?
we got move them. I was a
That's my
buying.
concern.
I was a buying.
If you pay the student workers, don't they should move the field, they know what it is.
That's your good one. Hey, you want to be sure what's gonna happen. Because you don't want to let your man to come and
Well,
yeah.
the complex is a new scenario. You're familiar with that, but and except for Ricardo Richards, we didn't have to have tables. All the schools provided them. And I'm good we could look into that. We need this. Well, we need a custodial worker that has, I guess, the confidence of the principal and protect the property. And we need them to provide us with the how many tables and chairs they need. If they said they can't do it, then we would try to do it. I would do it.
Yeah, you're right. Because part of the problem in the past we had with renting the tables and chairs that I bring them and drop them on them. And then we have to distribute it.
And who does that?
The company.
Webster. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the bottom line.
The more we got there, the more you got hours of the other blue.
But if I'm 7 to 7, I don't feel like I feel coming
It says 7 to 7.
That's what it is. More than 7.
That's 6 or 7 hours.
Now 6 in the morning to about 9 in the night is more like it.
Mr. Webster, I'm here ready for the station. What are you doing?
Yeah, no,
That's what you say, you put up all of them.
yeah, you can pull out and
No, I misspoke.
But anyway, we have to consider them.
Yeah, because we have no need to if we rent them reliable, then bring them here. They carry them to the schools.
They're not carrying.
So then we'll have somebody to carry them to the schools.
And another concern, these voting stations now, you have to find a way to transport them.
Right.
And this time we can't move out of them. I don't know if we need to consider getting one of the rental car agencies.
Yeah. Or either Fleming. We've used Fleming to move the machines in the past. I'm sure we need to consider them again to transport the machines, the tables, the chairs, the voting, all the apparatus.
The judges' books.
Right. Well, judges are coming to books.
And the book.
get this
all of a sudden,
I still don't have that layout for complex and like how that's going to, because it's two different, you have the cafeteria and the
That is
alcohol.
right. You have two schools.
Two, there's 200 in each location.
You have one for each precinct, each polling precinct, each polling. Meaning you have one for Uvalde,
Oh,
you
I
have one
see,
for
so that's complex, I have like
four, right?
Okay.
Right.
All right, okay, now I get it. So I have two in the cafeteria, two in the.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess generally one of the things we need to look at as well is contractor Flemings and we rented them and they have these big trucks, but we don't need 4 trucks this time.
Yeah.
The machine never that small. So, but then again, the case it comes in just as big as the damn machine we had in the past. And one of the things in terms of audit that we were talking about, I know there's generally a sheet that is created with a serial number of each machine, and those machines are designated to each school. So along with each school, you have that serial number. Each board member who has a responsibility for that polling precinct has to be here when they're loading the equipment, loading the machines and stuff, to check off, to make sure they're down the truck. When they deliver them, you gotta check it off again to make sure it's at the site. Okay? So that is already, should be in the system.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Okay? So that's the next thing you want to look at. In terms of, that's layout. In terms of,
since you mentioned that, the systems are provided security, overnight security.
overnight security, yes.
That
Okay, I think the system on the one?
overnight security.
Yes, that's the fact.
Yeah.
Nice.
They locked it down, yeah, in there, want to close the place out. Because part of the concern that I've had in the past is that you hire the security company, they're responsible for having that, they have to go to that site along with the delivery van or truck or bus or whatever it is, and make sure we start this setup from then. The security has to be there. I've had the experience in the past where we try to run out the security guard, the person they show up, I've had to double check to ULE, to the complex. It is a nightmare. So we want to make sure that we don't have that same experience this year.
Okay.
To make sure that the security company know that they have to have sufficient people in case somebody gets sick, somebody don't show up. They normally do a change of shift, I guess around midnight or something. You know, we just want to make sure that there's going to be security on site all the time.
Right, okay.
And then the security leaves in the morning at 6 when the judge and the election officials are running.
I have a question. If in this, what is the liability between security providing the services for the equipment versus nobody there? We have a police department, right? They have police officers working 24 hours. Where can we also arrange with the police officials to frequently check the polling site? They check everybody's business and make a report. So you can't have the police officer driving by complex to swing in and make a report that hey, I check complex and I saw security guard.
And they normally do, but the problem is that they're like a complex example, they come out of care to walk down to check. That's why that they can't sell.
If you can get the company providing the security equipment, you have to see a police car coming. In other words, you can see me coming to take out the machine.
Right.
So if they're really there inside, the police car never walking from this car
to the side.
We arrange with the police officials so they know what we expect from them. They just go to the hotel, walk on the hotel and the beach side, not around to get them to make a check to the security guard. I was at complex and I met Officer Molina.
Right.
I was security guard with Charles, we got Mr. Molina. Officer was, I showing that they called in Mr. Molina, our security was there. And done. So you have a cross, we're checking to see if they're really there. A company job security there next to one, I think we got home.
Trust me. That's why I'm showing the cartel because I've seen where they bring the chair or you pass back. Let's say you and your own drive by 9 o'clock in the night to see what I had. They can't sleep in. or because they're supposed to be inside the building with the machine there, but they can't sleep in.
So we coordinate
Right.
the inspection,
With
security
police.
purpose between the police and the security company, because they have to be liable for something.
Correct.
You can't just pay a security company to bid it, and when people can come, they walk out and carry the equipment there and they fly there and they come over in the building. What happens? So that could be easily done because police will be patrolling at night. So.
Have you even seen where a security guard got locked out? He went out and the door closed, he behind it. And he goes back inside. So, but yeah, the combination of both, I think, would
So when you have meetings about Lieutenant Van der Poel, you will run across that, you know, ensure that we have some cross coordination between security and police inspection and the unified inspection.
yeah,
Unified location.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they want them to have a path by out. You have 3 zones in here, you have special operation, you have SWAT, you have people like that.
So that's the security issue.
Good. So, I'm new.
Okay.
So, it's the scenario that the machines stay overnight. That the different voting equipment stay overnight the night before the election.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, I'm clear now.
Because you gotta remember that on election day, the judge has to open the polling site at 6 a.m. They swear in the election day officials and then they set up so that voting begins at 7. One of the problems that has been mentioned in the past, primarily at St. where they weren't ready to go at 7. So if you're ready to go at 7, whatever time you start, you better know you'll go till that time at the other end. You follow me? So the objective is to open, be there for 6, swear in, set up your machines, you know, the people are already designated by their title, what they do. Yeah.
Last question. So the security company that we used the last time, we had issues with in 2012. Whatever year,
Right.
whatever year there was the election, we have issues. So are we going to use the same company again, or is there?
As far as be the one, I guess negotiating those things.
Okay.
Well, we've had issue with the security guard. And this are the company.
Okay.
And then we would report that to the company. I would presume or assume that guard is no longer working or no longer assigned to us.
Right.
I don't think we could identify the entire company. One guy, but that's an election system.
Okay.
I mean, we could get involved with it, but that's not. We don't want to do that. We just want security.
I don't think people are crazy journalists. Any other questions on any other polling sites that we need to cover?
I have a question, I'm not sure if you understood it already.
Go ahead.
The question, I know you're talking about the layout, you have an area you put the story ballots in. Is anybody watching that site, anybody close to that site?
Yes, the facilitator. There's a,
Story ballots, we're gonna put it on there.
yes, we're gonna definitely have a facilitator that
Because
is,
you don't have, I thought it was just going to go here, there, everywhere else.
no, the
So I
facilitator,
was trying that they be paying attention to this area too.
the facilitator is responsible for that, dealing with the overvoted ballots specifically.
It's some kind of cutting in and out, so I'm not hearing too good. So go ahead.
The facilitator would be assigned to deal with the overvoting ballots.
The who?
A facilitator.
Facilitator, okay.
And
So they deal with that people that have issues and
right, they're the help person, as is called in Jackson.
becoming a facilitator. And they would put the spoiled ballots in a box, which would be under their supervision and control.
Okay.
They would lock, again, the fact, the number of ballots they put in there, et cetera, they keep a locker.
That would be a sealed box with a security.
Seal and,
Yeah, it would be a sealed box, yeah. Catering, sir.
huh?
Catering.
Right. Food. As far as
Has that been set up?
Juanita Garden, can you hear me, Supervisor?
Yes, I'm here. Go ahead.
As far as Juanita Garden is concerned, along with the complex, we're gonna be using the cafeteria and auditoriums at those schools.
Okay.
So whomever is gonna be providing the meals has to be aware that they have to set up in 2 different locations.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And the other schools, what we practiced in the past is that you hire multiple carers, some to do east, central, and west, and those carers would know what they have to. Well, I mean, those are details you'll work out,
Right, right.
and then you know they'll know the designated area is at each of those polling places to
Okay,
set up.
just 50 seconds of most of it, so we capture the information.
And like I said, you know, we're available to assist at every point in this process.
And
So once you finalize the distance, so the place to there, and then the area back up, etc. We're gonna get that out in the newspaper, so we're looking at trying to get information, sit down, to talk about their places tomorrow at their meeting.
Right.
And so we could do one ad, because all the ads cost, and so we need to at least run that ad a couple of times.
Uh-huh.
So folks know that they're going to these consolidated polling places for the primary.
Right.
We have a candidate that's already putting up our complaint here in St. Thomas, so we'll do that tomorrow.
Okay.
But they're going to let us know how much polling places are going to open, and then we'll see. But if they think to take us to close to the open house site, then expect similar and St. Croix.
I've never known that to be an issue before.
Okay, just let me know.
Well, I'm not the school board.
What's that again?
She says I might want to carry with the
It's a candidate that challenges open and limited polling sites. So I'm saying again, I've seen in the past where they take it to court. Because the court open 5, they're going to have the meeting tomorrow. I think they're looking at 5 also. And we discussed that last week.
Good.
That's St. Thomas you're talking about, right?
Challenging it.
But what the challenge is with you,
So we'll see.
My thing is each district has some
That's a
advantages.
nice district, but I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, we hear you, but I'm just
Take it
agreeing.
to court, then it might be, you know.
Well, I know, so I can make a determination.
I think this
But I'm talking about trying to make sure we get all the polling places kind of information so I can start running it into the news starting. Because the daily news takes a week, so you tend to decide something now, you can't run it next week. It takes a week for it to prep it. So in July, I want to run these ads with the polling places for both districts, so they know these are the polling places you will go to for the primary. If it's not an issue and they have to go, then I'll just run it as the thing comes.
Okay. And what I would suggest, Carolyn, is in addition to the ad for the 5 polling places here in St. Croix, under each polling place, we need to put all the different estates and communities that vote at each of these places, because you always have confusion when people going to the wrong place. Okay?
Okay.
You already have that information. It's just a matter of saying that people that vote at Unity, they come from all these places.
That's what I'm saying, but we just put it down and put it in the ad.
Right.
If I may, I think the St. Croix district already decided and agreed as to the polling place that we're going to use in St. Croix.
Right.
So all we need to do is get the advertisement go reasonable time. This is June. From July 2nd or 3rd or whatever day they want to listen and read, we send out the press release. And again, we can go maybe in the radio station and explain to people again. The Daily News and Average the right where they want, when they want to believe their stupid story in time anyway. So don't rely on the Daily News and Average the right nonsensical when they don't want to. The right way they want to think the people believe. So we have the responsibility to pull it out. We see hearing, we tell the people what we want to do. We have the Channel 12 government access station and the legislature have a channel. So if you make a mistake and the others make a mistake, or the VISOs make a mistake, that's their story. Our story that we tell the people we're supposed to tell them. The reason technically from July, a whole 30 days ahead of time. But basically let everybody know what the polling places are. You get the election system to put out the listing. Mr. Alexander and myself would probably get to the radio station and explain it to them again. And from there, people will find a way once they know where to go.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we can't work our functions over here because the government saying sure what they want to do.
No, not only that, I'm just saying, you know.
So wait until the case comes and get solved with the subpoena.
No, that's what I'm saying. Tomorrow they're going to decide to put a paper, so I have information to put out starting next week. I also have to put out at the end of registration is July 2nd. People will remind them that that's there too, and so the campaign disclosure end of June. So this the ad will be going now. Not a problem. I'm not putting it up. I'm just
Supervisor,
yes.
on the issue, I know you said you're going to provide us at the next regularly scheduled meeting the listing of the persons that applied to work as election day officials. Can you ensure that we're going to have at least, I'm saying correct, for 14, let me do the math here quick, 14.
I think the country prepared the list and she can present that to her because, you know, she's average today, but you said at the next meeting, so she should be giving you the list.
We're anticipating,
The do the same, they have their list ready for tomorrow's meeting.
I guess we're anticipating at least 126 or 130 people to cover all the sites, okay?
Yeah,
That's a rough number.
so she takes no people in touch.
She in here.
So that's includes judges, inspectors, and
Judges, inspectors,
facilitators.
facilitators, monitors, and
I
etc.
think what is it,
And
14.
And we got adding the custodian.
I think it's a 14 and 5 or something.
14 and 9. Yeah. So,
Let's
let you
23 times 5.
Yeah, we talk about the list and we also have to point a contact telephone number, and whatnot, and each person knows that when they go to school and the school ain't open or some issue. So we try to make sure that, you know, you have to point a contact to each of the schools, who you call to get keys, etc.
Right.
So we put in all of that on the list now, so we have been making some changes to the list.
Good.
I just want
And
to,
I know, I mentioned it, I know syntax security, they're okay. So if you don't need any clerks back in the office for help, I know there are 4 employees there, you know, to check the names, etc. So hopefully that will work. If it's not, it's a little different, so.
I know that we've always had at least 1 or 2 additional persons on election day to assist and augment the
So that's what I'm
staff.
saying, so if we had 2, I think we should have 4 now, because we're not taking the books out, so it's gonna be a little bit more busy, you know?
Right.
So that's what we need to consider.
Except this is facts, no. Your employees can receive or take instructions from the board members anyway, so we're asking you to assign which best 2 you want to have alternated between the time of the primary.
No,
You have 4 of them.
them.
You have 4 of them, and I don't know how you're going to assign some for the first half, 8 hours or 12 hours or 14 hours. I don't think none of them will want to say that. I'll just say, if you have 4 and you want to divide the time between 4 of them for the first portion of the day to finish in the evening.
Right.
We need them, so I would appreciate, or we would appreciate really if you let which ones are going to be in the morning, so we can.
Okay, we look at that, that's a good idea.
Thank you.
They generally are here all day
Yeah, but
in support of everything we're doing.
So that's what I'm saying, is that I said that I meant to 2, and this thing is I think it's booked all the way to I went to 4, so we look at that.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
she was saying that.
Yeah, we just wanted to put as much information out there
There
for you to be able to, make some determinations.
I just want, and this is to the board members,
they go with it.
Okay,
at election day, we're responsible.
Right.
Not the supervisor. So the custodian needs to show up with the key.
Take out.
They our job to find the custodian. Our job. So I just want, we can't be running to talk to do what we're supposed to do. So when we assign to a particular site, we need to make sure that we have all the contact information with custodial workers, or judges, etc. we are responsible for making sure that they function.
Will there be
The
a,
election day, person has the least amount of work to do in the system, in theory, is a supervisor.
will there be a day where we go over all of that? You know, some board training first.
Yeah.
New members, you know, just have a sit down and
But that's an agenda.
all those past scenarios where.
We'll get to that.
This is my question about primary election. Is this office going to be open, right?
Absolutely.
Is the office going to be used as a polling site also?
No, not an election day. The walk-in voting stuff.
Starts
That's
when?
the day before.
The day before, okay.
And an election day, in theory, this is where we eat 3 meals a day. So we also, since we have to report to work at 6 o'clock, before 6 o'clock in the morning, I work to get that some at 10 o'clock.
You know, you gotta do before 6 o'clock.
Don't be Ari. Walk it up there.
Yeah, attend to that.
Some,
Don't overthink it.
you remember he referred to the electioneering signs?
I got a meeting, my government meeting.
Remember some, remember the electioneering signs that you referred to?
Yes.
What do you think is put them up? Who's responsible for getting them? No, okay. That's a new twist, by the way. We didn't have a dedicated staff member. But under the whole scenario, the board members have to put them up. Either, because we're the ones who determine the electioneering zone. So, either you go there at 8 o'clock at night, midnight, put them up, so you get there at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I have a question. I don't know if Ms. Fox know that because sometime in the past election they've had some young men that have been coming in to work with the board in the election. Are we going to consider getting some young men or men to ice everything because you know women are very ice like that.
That's sure.
So if you need to find, maybe we can ask one of the employees up there, to Mrs. Fox, to find out the listing of some of the men that have worked before moving things around for us. So it was the same thing that Mr. West said before. So we don't have sufficient help for these studies. I don't know how many divisions that I had here. I've seen men coming here before. Maybe one of the members of it can tell us that who the names are, what they used to be employed to do.
Well,
We had a staff member for property procurement assigned to us. We had a vehicle for property procurement. Before this new scenario, we got Terrell, we got our own van now.
You can still bring them.
I'm not saying we can't, but that young man basically became the person who would go for things, go to the printer and get balance, go to, you know.
So they was still utilize that person.
Yes, cancer, yeah.
Man who's saying put up this fish and don't say anything.
How do you find that?
The man who,
How about the chair?
People on TV told us that he put up all the police station, he just hear me say,
well,
he see when spoke.
he didn't know what he didn't know what getting into.
My area like 200.
Well, you have to put them, the electioneering signs has to go up there early, because the campaigners will come in the middle of the night and they want to set up. If you don't have to sign up, and you get there at 6 o'clock in the morning and tell them they're too close to the gate, they're going to complain because they said, well, nobody, there was no sign telling me I can't be here. And it creates an issue. The best thing to do is to put it up. So when you get this at 5:30 in the morning and they're inside the electioneering zone, you just point to the sign. You gotta move, you're too close.
Do you do this the night before or the day before?
I do it the day before.
I should say go back even further. 2 days before.
No. I come the day before election, I gather all my stuff, and I wrap up everything to my sense.
In the daytime.
In the daytime.
You don't see usually your experience. You haven't seen anyone setting up during the time you.
No, because I don't go out like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And during that time, you don't see
No, but
anyone
people,
coming at night.
candidates normally start coming like midnight to get a better.
They come a lot later.
I have a suggestion. Since we utilizing the new machines, I think would help the public if like 2 or 3 days before the primary and general election, Mrs. Fox and one of us on the board, Mr. Terrell, get to a station, explain to the people what we expect of them as far as the electioneering, the votes and the sign and the tables. So they can't come and say, no, by 8, 10 million, or they didn't read it. Sometimes you move signs, and you take the signs are there the next time, you put it where they want. And then you gotta wait until the police come to somebody who want to fight. So the public notice is out 2 or 3 days ahead of time. Or we can probably let the candidates themselves know, to let the workers at the polls understand the rules and procedures as it relates to the electioneering and what the parameters are in and out of the area. So we can meet with the candidates, tell them this is your responsibility to let the workers know that electioneering is not allowed in these areas. This is what we don't want. This is what we need to do. And that's how we can make the candidates. If we get the candidates to cooperate with the activities of the board or the election system and the board, along with their workers, then we'll have some kind of song where all of us agree as the board, the election system, and the candidates. We could try that and see what happens.
Yeah, that's why I recommended that.
Basically saying that
Right.
For people who don't think.
Yeah, but that's why I recommended that we meet at least a week out with our candidates for every
Well, we should, because one of the issues that we have is candidates assign poll watchers that have no idea what their role and function is. So such a meeting has always been helpful, and meeting with the candidates and their poll watchers and explaining to them the laws it relates to no electioneering zone, the laws it relates to the role as a poll watcher. They can't be breathing down the neck of the there are prohibitions under law. They can't be writing down people's names and all that kind of stuff like that. And a whole slew of things that people who don't participate in the election process assume they can do.
Well,
We need to have such a meeting.
What we can do is prepare one standard sheet or sheets of information for each candidate. When they have their campaign workers and the meetings, what they can do. All of them are the same. You can't say, how come we give Mr. Molina one thing, and Mr. Obsega something else, and Mr. Rata something. All of them get the same information, what we expect them, and what they expect of us. And we get an even ground, so they can't say, I didn't see my paper had that on, I never had a red paper. You find out.
Those of us who are already got that information about the system,
So,
but we need to review it with them.
right.
Because there is a sheet and the role and function of poll watcher.
Well,
They have to be signing how many poll watchers you can have in a whole scenario.
well, the only difference being that in the primary, the parties are responsible for selecting poll watchers, not the candidates.
The candidates, true.
So that's
Then we
in the
need-
primary.
Then we need to be to the party.
Right.
Again, there was another concern I've been hearing and asking if a person can put on the campaign shirt. I mean, it's your shirt. I haven't seen any prohibition that you can't have on a shirt now. Mr. West, so
You can't wear electioneering paraphernalia if you're coming to vote, you can. But if you're working as a poll worker,
Right.
you can't.
that's what I'm saying.
That's disenfranchised.
Those are arguments and questions.
Oh, trust me,
How come like
yeah,
that, where
single-
to say, and I
Yeah.
could walk up and down and say that
Yeah,
sometimes
single-
people have relief watchers inside, and when one relief the other one, they believe it will come from outside with the same sort of stuff
Right.
inside. So these are the things we need to make the candidates understand. You have a poll worker inside, when they're being relieved, a poll worker relieving, you can't come inside and put a short mark, nobody name it. And people try that game already, switching games, going to bathroom upon and shut up on thing. And that's where it happens. Somebody says, how come that person is going and I can't go in? So if we put that out to the candidates ahead of time, then we know that when your poll worker is inside, the restricted area, he or she must have something new, Chana.
Question, is there, been noticing in my title, on the title 18, is there violations under Title 18, fines if you do that? So if the candidate that's violating and you make your note, can they be fined? For that
candidate.
Well, the individual, but the individual is a representative of that candidate who's there, and or the party is there who assigned it.
The individual is part of the woman check.
That is the judge,
If the candidate don't really know somebody on telephone, and you know, Christian said, and then they said, how that person, you have to blame the individual who committed the offense as opposed to who you believe they're working for. Because I could put down a shot, and then really working for the candidate, and then you blame the candidate when in fact the person had nothing to do with the person who had the short of creating infraction. So the infraction is the individual that committed the infraction.
Okay. Well, that's, yeah, that would fall similar to other things that I
But Raymond's observation is valid. It's an easy one because the parties are responsible for poll watchers. So basically, we have a very, we call in 3 people along with the poll watchers and go through the law and procedures with them.
And that would be the board that would go after them with the fund,
No,
or the supervisor.
the judge,
The
on
judge.
election day, the judge is the person responsible.
By extension of the board. The judge works for the board. The judge's job is to make sure that nothing interferes with the election process or violates the law. So if she sees someone, if she sees a poll watcher in an electioneering mode inside working, and she asks him to leave, move his shirt, or change his shirt, and refuse to do it, our responsibility is to call the police officer.
Okay, so that would be, okay, gotcha.
Especially if you find in the polls where they created probably even on the list of a candidate. People put that kind of thing and switch t-shirt and come back and you check the list of polls not even on a candidates registered with the board or the system.
Certified by the board.
And have that scenario been played out
Yeah.
the prosecution part?
Well, I don't know about prosecution, but we've had experiences where people show up that, you have a certificate, first of all, you gotta give that certificate to the judge. So the judge, to tell the judge, I am representing X candidate or the party. If you find, the judge finds somebody lingering in a public place, she has a responsibility to go over and say, well, what's your purpose in being here? And if they tell you they are a watcher and they don't produce a certificate, you don't have to call the police and tell the police what about it.
And the reason why I'm going down this road is I'm not trying to be cruel or anything, but to the individual, but enforcers tend to not get involved in things that they don't know. Is that something that we need to show them and say this is under Title 18 subsection, it's not so, and then
The police.
the Mr. Vanderpool,
Yeah, well,
and
that's the
have
purpose of-
them
that's the purpose
filter
of-
this down to
That's the purpose of the meeting.
Trust me, because you hit the nail on that. Because they like to tell you, I ain't doing
If I don't know,
that.
if I'm an officer on the beat,
Yeah.
and I don't know a particular law, and an individual comes up with a board says, you know, under this law, then I will do my job. But if I don't know, other than saying, well, obstruction of justice and I'll arrest you for that, you know, not obeying what I'm saying. To stop.
The first responsibility is to remove obstruction so that the election process continues. If the person resists that, then he's actually not resisting the board, he's resisting the police officer. And he has his own,
Under obstruction. Yeah.
he has his own legal rights. Resisting, put down cuff on him and call the body. This time.
Okay.
I don't recall us, I don't ever have to reach that level. I recall people being very belligerent. They would go outside and they would cuss and stuff like that. And then when you driving out, they want to cost you some more. And when you coming back in, they still want to cost you. But you just gotta ignore that.
Okay.
You know, because welcome to the club, Western. So you just gotta, you gotta.
I'll be going with somebody on that. I don't know a rookie on this one.
No, there's no such thing as a rookie.
Oh yeah, I need, for instance, we were there discussing, I think, but what I was talking about was the ballot itself. Can the facilitate, tell the person where the instructions is on the ballot? I think you said no, right? So that's a rookie mistake for me. I don't want to get it. I want to be able to see along with somebody, what I can and cannot do. And I guess during whatever little training we're gonna get, and so
There's a difference between telling them where to find information. They can't read. If they can't read, then they need somebody to help them read. If a person can read, doesn't open up a chat environment, no one might to take on. So if they get about it without they can read, and they can't understand a question or language, that's what they need a system, but we don't have to necessarily find out each section about what it says to know what it tell you to read. You got to be one that can understand be able to translate.
And let me be clear, rookie doesn't mean I'm saying I'm going to shy away from any duties. I'm going to be there. I just, makes sense that someone should who have a little more experience than I talking. Okay, no problem. I ain't shying away from it. As long as I have whatever, who said whatever we have, I'll read it and I'll follow it accordingly.
It's so fun.
The one suggestion that we got to be careful is that because you're on the board, the voter thinks that you have authority and opponent's sight during the process. And they want to come up to you and get you to do something that would either help them vote, or help them to go send it to the church. You have no function they are to solve the process and to help the judge. So the judge tell you, I've been trying to call the office and they haven't returned my call. You could pick up the phone and call the office and say, blah, blah, blah. You can't do the judge's job or interfere with the judge. That's their work. They don't like what the judge tell them.
Challenger?
Because as a board, we act collectively. So one person can't make a decision to remove it. So when you're in the field, you resist that attempt. And it's very, very hard to do. I can tell you the case with Raymond and the guy who refused to go to Henderson to vote. Remember, he was a child slave and insisting that he would vote a child slave because he didn't want to drive out with the FedEx step because he didn't want to go too far and he was sick and blah, 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 blah. And the president, you got to go down there and he came to Raymond and obviously Raymond didn't get involved in the process, so he got tongue lashing.
You enjoy the man.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
Am I correct? Because he expected Raymond to go inside and tell the church, no, let him vote. And that's, I mean, a child said, you know all you have to do is get in his car and go down the road to Henderson.
Take the space,
That's the kind of stuff before. And then he went on the radio.
Yeah.
And obviously, the system is corrupt, the whole thing vote, the thing about about 5 o'clock, the whole world knew that he didn't vote because he knew what everybody said. As it was. You tell me.
Mr. Chair.
I think sometimes too, well, we can't really make the division that transport people to the poll place. Sometimes we get rights. And before they show that the person is voting, and they'll fix them and drive back and leave them. And then they believe that the poll election is supposed to call a taxi or transport them someplace. So we need to also include that in our instructions to the public before the election, to let the individuals who drop voters to polling site before the driver can leave them, make sure they are at the right location rather than give them a ride and zoom off and then the person stand there either to the wrong place. So that's where we need to let them know about this particular 5 locations ahead of time. So we have to include that in instructions at the appropriate time when we get to the radio station and put out the advertisements, at least they will know that before I drop Mr. Williams to go place, I assume that the vote will be replaced and I take off and leaving when I believe I'm not supposed to vote inside farm, and I don't want to come back to pick him up so then he can discuss with the board because the post will give him the right driver and that. So, what else we got on the locations and equipment? We have to, the voting station, we have over 200 of them, right?
Yeah, 13 per.
Right. And the tree for the that's the
record. Yes, I don't.
But that's what he said.
Back initial catering, you said there were only 2 sites that
Had multiple.
I would recommend Henderson also. The problem at Henderson has a large boat, and actually, as you were aware, when we visited, there are 2 corridors, and the inner corridors and the outside. When you put the food on one corridor, the public, the workers on the fast and the south side don't get access. Well, we on the north side, the workers on the south side don't get ready access to the food. By the time they get there, have the food. So I have, since I've worked that pool, I've had the caterer set up 2 stations, one on each side. Easy access for the workers, etc. So I recommend that we have 2 sets.
I've seen sometimes when the worker will fix 3 plates of food and rest them down.
Yeah.
And that's why something
and go back and eat.
they need to let them know ahead of time. But before they do that, make sure that each of the co-workers get their food. Or somebody don't fix 3 plates of chicken and rest it down and go back and take the chicken and the 3 plate wrap up with chicken. And needs to be looked at in that food. And that's happened sometimes.
And I've heard judges lecture them about that. I think that's management of the process. So we would help the judges by separating at Henderson. Because even in general election, at Henderson, we have 2 teams, 2 judges. So there's so many. So we always had a judge in control of the station in one corridor.
So they don't
Package?
yeah.
No.
So suggestion would be next time, when you guys are touring, you taking pictures of all these different, it would be helpful to have a picture of it.
What's it then?
Yeah.
Oh, you looked around, he did, oh, he did, okay, okay.
He emailed everybody.
Yeah.
I lost my phone.
Oh, okay.
I mean, just to share history, I've heard where, even from my time at the board, where they've contracted like McDonald's to feed people, they want the package, pre-packaged food. I don't think there's a scenario that ever worked. Because I even recommended that we give each election the official X amount of money to buy their own damn food, but not even that, So they stick to having the food catered and just trust that people will be,
Courteously.
yeah.
I'm just watching, I'm just seeing that you have 3 polling places at some, 2 at some. Wait, at Henderson, you're saying that's 3, right?
But he's just set up 2.
2 on the other side.
Because the
Equal amounts.
St. John's and Mountain put together is less than Henderson.
Do you guys, have you guys used, I think I heard you guys talking about it, the board talking about it, where you use different caterers. Is it a different caterer for each school, or is it a caterer?
We try to have them designated, 1 caterer for east, 1 for central, 1 for west. And the thing about it is, if you give the election day officials the opportunity to determine the electoral vote, everybody in like hot food, and they like hot food, but then they don't have anybody to go. So you make a designation and eat and eat and eat.
That's all, everybody keeps them. Anything else? You want? Those are anything else we need to, we'll just finish up behind on this. What we're thinking about is a day for the workers at the poll on the right and stuff, the machine and so on, the question that we raised about that Mr. Mullen was talking about. So how soon we want to get them in for that particular purpose, the inspectors and the judges.
I guess they really
Rather wait until the day before we do it, because we should have some discussion with them before, along with the campaign worker, with the candidates, or the candidates and the workers at the same time, be consistent, the same information they expect. When they bring the workers, the workers will know what the candidates expect and keep going.
I guess my question is, did we receive any specific data from ESNS? Supervisor,
Yes.
had you received any specific dates yet from ESNS?
Anyone?
Dates from ESNS?
Eight?
Date, D-A-T-E.
Dates, training dates.
Oh, no, I was on the phone with her yesterday, hopefully she'll give me something today. We're trying to finalize the balance. So she still said she's trying to figure out a date that identifies 2 persons that should be coming here. The form, we went down the form and fill out the requirements that we need, because we got to do a contract again for coming. It's in the bill, but they have to fill out a form. So we did that yesterday. I was on the phone for about an hour, her and the programmer. So she's still trying to put down her date, like she said, July timeframe for poll worker training and the testing of the machine and set up. So hopefully she'll give me a date today. The ballots are pretty much finalized. Just doing one check of it today. Share it with you via email. Can be done in the 14 font. It has to be 12. The shuttle that you're seeing is a smaller version. It's going to be an 8.5 by 14. So it's going to be large enough for everyone to see. And the future is that we recommend it. So hopefully I get some dates from her today.
Okay. Because
Second question, I didn't know if you have this plus, CD for CN, at BW sites, that's one.
Yes, 20 chairs, right?
The area for those folks with handstands, whatever. The area that has a lot of voters, they also talk about your line instead of being standing in a straight line. You know, when you go through the line in and out, up and down, make people believe they're moving and not standing in one place for a long time. So for those that you got big crowds, that's something you need to look at.
And corralling.
You know what, it was nice when you might have back, you go in and out and up and down.
Oh.
And you get, those cords now fit that the neck. You keep the person sitting there moving process. So standing in one place for a long time.
The problem with that is that most of these sites, the space don't allow for serpentine. That's what that's called, a serpentine. Don't allow for it.
Yeah, Mary, okay.
But I think that would,
27 would do this training for school, 18 or what?
well, you probably, we can talk about doing it. But generally, you could do whole holdings, the 3 polar sites, well, let's say You do Henderson one day, you do Complex one day, you do Ricardo Richard one day, and then you do the other day.
So that's it.
My understanding is that we're going to get the listing
And then that's the
June 2nd,
Right.
July 2nd. From this conversation, it appears we need to set up a meeting for these workers to be trained. We need to have a meeting for the pool watchers designated by the party to review the do's and don'ts. That meeting we could hold without having, because they're not machine related. That meeting we could schedule this meeting.
Because some of the candidates were down at the mall, and I was suggested to them to take on information as possible. So when they have the campaign workers meeting, they have an idea of what expected of how the machines work. I even went and had some of the ballots to work with them so we can explain the same thing that Mr. Mother was asking about. We tell them what's on the ballot writing. So if the candidates themselves didn't go to that stage with the workers, then we will have a lot of problem when they come, we don't go over the same to the question to them.
Except that the poll watchers,
Yeah,
the candidates, workers are the people that are
yeah, outside candidates.
Right.
We talk with the poll
I'm
workers.
talking about poll watchers that are designated by the party to watch in the primary. They're the people that are going to be inside the polling area, the voting
That's
area.
where they need to be.
Now we need to train. We need to tell them their do's and don'ts, so that they don't come and, as I said, breathing down the neck of the clerks, etc., or sitting in a position so that they can absorb how people voting, not voting, that kind of stuff like that.
So you have a listing of the poll workers from the party.
We don't have them as yet.
That's what I'm saying. I want until
We need to get the listing, and then we need to have a meeting.
Right.
Because you have to certify them as
Right.
poll watcher. You, as the chairman, you have to sign the document.
Right. One, I know who they are.
So we got to get it from the parties.
Do they have a notice out to them yet? Are you waiting on it?
I don't know.
But they should know, so maybe we need to remind them.
Probably,
Yeah, we need to let them know, and then let them know also that we want to meet with them
Right.
to review the do's and don'ts.
When the time comes, you don't have it to say they didn't receive an email or nothing to get it on
We're going to do a multi-level, we'll also be certified now, but they're getting emails on this side. Just like the same email.
It's basically only 3 letters.
Right.
No, this is, we had communication issues where an email was sent to a specific address and it was ignored, but then it was sent again to the same address and it was responded to, so.
This information was in the packet that they received. Again, we completed the poll workers manual. But in the poll workers manual has some address to poll watchers.
Right. But
If you did the do's and don'ts analysis. So again, you guys, we could send us up to the candidates or managers, I'm not sure, I'll have to ask.
the poll watchers in the primary are assigned by the parties.
Right.
In general election, they're assigned by the candidates. So we have a much bigger pool to deal with come general election time. But we need to get the poll watchers from the parties so we could review with them the do's and don'ts. The primary.
Okay.
Make sure they read it. That's
That's the part they're reading it. But somehow, because that's one of the questions on one of the candidates in 2000, they read it. He asked about the training for the poll watchers, so they're aware of it. So, like I said.
This is a primary candidate.
Yes.
Tell him he needs to go to his state chair. The state chair is the one, and that's a problem we always have. The state chair determines the poll watchers. The state chair is supposed to get recommendations from the candidates
Right.
in his party, his or her party. If they don't, they say who they want to, And then the candidates come to us and complain that they're not represented as poll watchers. They're already poll watchers in the representation. The poll don't select the poll watchers for the party. The state chair does.
Alright, okay.
So someone who's running in the primary, if they want to, if they ask, how do they get a poll watcher?
The first station.
Go to the state chair.
Right.
The general election is a different ballgame. Everybody's entitled to their own poll watcher. The party has no, which is a nightmare, right?
But they still have to give us a listing.
Absolutely.
They have
It has to be certified.
They have to be certified by the chair.
So we give them like a special armband.
No, a certificate. Get a certificate.
For the
They have
company.
people with the name
So
and
that's
that.
it.
So he's selling that.
But there's nothing they,
No,
so that they challenged in the.
no. The challenge will be they go to the judge and somebody want challenge. They go to the judge and the judge just said they have a certificate. They produce a certificate.
When they show up to the site, they should report to the judge so she would note in the book.
Before they get in, say.
That's true. You should, Rupert Ross, poll watcher for Rupert Ross, and therefore, and she didn't know I'm free to do
I don't
that.
see you on the list. Sorry.
And if you walk in and start poll watching, her job is to ask you, what are you doing here?
Gotcha.
And if he says, I'm a poll watcher, says, may I see your certificate, please? You don't have it, well, go back home and get it.
So, in this scenario, each judge is, for instance, you have 3 judges at some polling places. Would they be assigned an X amount of poll watchers, or would the poll watchers be for the entire, for that?
Well, like for the primary,
Yeah.
the poll watchers, because the precincts are located in one location,
Okay.
they can vacillate. But like I told you before, the objective of a poll watcher is to observe, not to be a hindrance. You know, they can't stop over the equal to see who's signing in, because it's a privacy violation. If they have challenges, they gotta write it down and discuss it with the judge. So the judge will determine.
So we'll learn all of that.
Can't be the voting stations either.
No. As a matter of fact, they should be sitting in one location and looking at, observing from that location what is taking place.
That's been designated.
There's the kind of things they'll highlight is that they see somebody and the letter just come in, they check in, they go to vote, and then they meandering run around, things like that, they'll come back to the judge.
That would be part of our
Training.
No, well, not just a training, but our drawing where they are supposed to be.
I think you need to leave that at the judge's discretion.
Okay.
And another thing, you don't want the poll watchers walking around handing out things.
Oh, yeah, they don't want to. Them nigga, I know they don't post me.
Absolutely no.
E-check.
No, there's be something. Sometimes they go to shake you hand and they got something put in the hand. And then another person will sit and also come bring mine.
Yeah.
Well, if another person, another poll watcher sees that, and it's a disadvantage to their candidate, they should report it to the judge.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
That poll watcher over there is passing out electioneering material.
Anything else? So then we can go to the last item on the agenda. Basically, the staff said that they're waiting on a response from the SMS. So we really can't schedule a date until we get the information from the staff.
Correct.
So anything else we have here? Mrs. Fox,
Mrs. Fox?
Yes, I'm here.
you got any idea yet when the additional machines are going to be here?
Any idea when the additional machines will be here?
Oh, I got the during my checkup to the tracking date, they already shipped out. I'll get the exact date when they're doing it. I got this 8 dog drive to them already 2 weeks ago.
So then we would know when they have them cleared through customs and who's going to deliver them to us and have them prepared, right? So they would do that when they get here.
Yeah, that would be added in their numbers, and when they come to do the test and check, they'll be testing all of it together.
All right, thank you.
That's my question. When is it testing?
By calendar, you gotta look at the calendar.
So if the early voting bill passes, then you take one machine and make that early voting machine. So the one that I have designated as absentee, you might need to utilize that one as early voting.
Testing is July. It's July.
Testing and
Is that bill is on the Senate agenda today?
Yes, it's supposed to be.
It's July 31st. The testing date on
Especially,
calendar.
Along with 200 ratifications, hopefully. Based on talking to two persons, they said it's override.
okay.
Well, since we finished here and we completed the agenda, we just want everybody to come in today and do the list.
One other thing is, Alexa said yesterday, in fact, I think Tyrell, you have this, Tyrell, you got some envelopes that we got from Florida?
So what?
Some envelopes, absentee ballot envelope, if you could bring it and show it to you.
It was a letter.
She said that the ballot for absentee can be folded, because we were checking around for envelopes and for ABS and other places, and everybody else has a regular size envelope. So the absentee ballot is going out. I think we just got some ballot samples from Florida, and I think the size is similar to what we already have. And she said we can be folded in half, it's 8.5, presented by 14, and 8 can be fed to the machine, shouldn't be an issue. So I'm going to look at that when I get back. Look at the envelopes, make sure what we have is covered. Then take a look at them, and you just pick it up today from the post office. So those envelopes, if all sizes is comparable, then we won't have to worry about adding another envelope. We just use it and fold it in half.
So
right now, it's usually projected to less than 100 persons requesting absentee ballots in the primary. So I don't see that being an issue. Being at BOE or 2, because Brensky approved the ballots today or tomorrow, she will take ballots and send them to us. What you talk about with the proof is similar to what you've seen online, but if you put the proof, then you have to transpose the vote and actual ballot. We talked to her yesterday, that will be alternate number 2. For primary, so we're trying to get them one to approve it there tomorrow, print the ballots, get those to us that we need for the absentee. And then we look into the numbers for the primary election. She's stating we need about 100%, that's again the first time doing it, and the spoilage rate maybe 7% is over. But based on the person that's registered as of July 2nd, we'll be ordering ballots from everyone. So right now we're at 22,000, 23,000 in grade. Based on the party, we will bring that out, and that's what we're going to order.
So then you're saying that the envelopes are in the post office or supposed to be?
No, we picked them up today.
It wasn't an envelope, it was an envelope with a letter specifying that he was inviting you to come, when the staff to come to Florida. That was the letter. That's what the letter stated.
So you have that there?
The letter was an invitation to come to Florida to look at something, but he don't come back with it.
I didn't hear you.
It was a letter he said inviting you or somebody to come to Florida.
That's not that. I'm looking for some envelopes. No envelopes came?
He said no, the envelopes didn't come. What he picked up was a letter of invitation.
Okay, I got question. But the envelopes are being mailed too. So I'm going to play this and the first thing to us, the first we already have that to see that it should work.
All right.
That's all I have. I don't have anything else.
Well, thank you. And since we have, you don't want to wait to show Mr. Karen, but
You're cutting it along, Mr. What?
because Mr. Rash will really closer to the telephone.
You want me to read this letter?
No, I don't need a letter. That's not very.
Okay.
I have enough issues dealing with.
So you will envelope them.
No, she doesn't have the envelope.
And there's tomorrow or some other issues here.
Okay, thank you.
Make sure you're interested. Those members do not be out there campaigning for any of these candidates. We did complaints again with the Attorney General Office. Board members are actively campaigning for candidates, especially Governor Cruz and Governor.
Well, tell her.
These are kind of complaints here on today, tomorrow, yesterday, and on and on and on.
If they don't complain, they don't call the board member, they're wasting time.
Mr. Alexander said not to hang up.
So I just tell you talk about this, you would never don't know. Don't talk, don't give no opinions, people are standing in lines and stores and telling you actively they're campaigning for other people when it becomes an issue.
if the candidate, if the board members are not really divulging any confidential information that candidate pose, if a question should ask, I mean, you got freedom of association or freedom of choice. Nobody campaign. I don't know, nobody telling me who will campaign. If you want to tell us who you know and don't do nothing about it, then you have to take the board.
Is it a Synchrony campaign? Is it a Synchrony campaign?
Well, let's see, but then he's coming over there, you know what?
Is it a Synchrony complaint? The complaint, is it in? That was in that.
Tell me about you and tell them on the bull when they were eating.
Unfortunately, you're gonna live in a lot of those things.
I know.
You know, I don't want to use the old cliche, make your back strong, but
I know.
Anyway,
Just don't quit.
16 nobody will hear me well.
For the year.
Anyway, thank you again. We finish the agenda until we get the dates of the training and everything else.
Just as I get the date, I'm going to get that to the board too. Just as I get it, I'll let you spend it. Also, I think he sent you the stuff yesterday that the attorney, Giancarlo Jacob, said July 31st is the deadline to submit a plan of action for runoff. So, we look at that, come up with the ideas of what we want me to structure, and then hopefully sit down to get the information tomorrow. At the 31st of July. So I think we should meet before then, maybe in the middle of July, finalize this, so we don't wait until the end date to pick it up. And also, I think that would be a good meeting before the primary. It could be telephonically, I think, VTC. That would be my recommendation.
Supervisor, with respect to the runoff, what are we being asked to do? Amend the Organic Act?
No, we are asked to give them a plan of action because we won't be able to meet the 45 days get the balance out to federal military persons.
That is correct.
But we have to address how we will handle it when we mail it out and we give them 10 days after to get it in, what's the plan of action. So that's now what we're looking at Puerto Rico and to see what they have. Because they only really apply to territories, they won't apply to states because they already have it in the law. All of them is an exception based on the consent decree and what we have in the territory via code. So we have to address a plan of action.
But it's not the VI code, it's VI. It's a federal law that established the date of the runoff election. And they delegate to Congress, the Defense Department, the Justice Department, acting on behalf of the Defense Department, has submitted legislation to change the law to determine whether or not we're going to move the runoff election date back into sometime in the Christmas holidays, or we're going to elect people by plurality rather than majority vote. I'm puzzled as to see, based on the parameters of the federal law, this board, the system can't change the law. So I don't know how we're going to have to pray that we don't have a runoff, but the
That's
system.
what I'm saying, it's great, but we have to set this plan for what we're going to do. That's not because our runoff date that you said set. But it's set to 18. So if you have an election on the 4th, and you have a runoff at 18, it doesn't give you that 45 day window. So we just have to say what we're going to do. That's what I'm saying.
Mrs. Fox.
It's a trap.
Mrs. Fox.
Yes.
While the Attorney General is raising the concern about board members campaigning or for certain candidates for certain offices.
No, I didn't say the concern. I said the letter came to the board and myself, and it's furnished like a furnished to the Attorney General.
A letter?
Here.
A letter, right?
I'm sending it here. I'm telling board members here, and like you said, they said what? So Attorney General, we got it.
So who got the letter from where?
The letter came to the chair and myself.
From who?
An email with a long list of queries.
From who the letter came from?
You want to know what that?
I don't know, I haven't seen no letter.
That's
You laughing?
the board wants to know what you want to know.
No,
I want to know.
you're talking to me alone, you got people here hearing you.
When I stop.
What you said? If you have a letter,
We didn't hear you.
Came from candidate Donald Starr.
okay,
Donald
it
Starr.
came from candidate Donald Starr to you were the chair.
Came to the chair and it came to the supervisor.
Okay. Well, then he said we should get a candidate letter too, because you're a gubernatorial candidate.
Yes.
So unless we have a copy of the letter, we can't really respond to the letter. So maybe you can send fax it over to us from Mr. Alexander. We should
I'm
have.
just telling you to inform your board to not do these things that are, against the law. Don't be out there campaigning for anyone.
But we need a letter.
Who you're running with, who you're running for, who you're going for. You need to say yourself. I'm just saying that's a point that I need to know. Sometimes we have to
hello, please.
business and we say these things and not knowing that there'll be
If you have-
somewhere else that's spread around as your point.
Mrs. Fox, if you have a letter, and the chair have the letter in St. Thomas, so Mr. Donald Starr is running at large as a gubernatorial candidate, it is only fair that this board over here, these members have a copy of the same letter, because if he's asking those questions, I'm sure that something.
Tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow.
Which is
Then you bring that up, but I'm saying with the victim and I.
So when told
Tomorrow,
me tomorrow.
I'll send it over to you.
no, if he have the letter, it's already out. He wrote the letter already, so he doesn't secret document no more.
It's an email.
I could print it and send it.
Send the email to everybody.
Yeah, and besides that, if that concern is there, on January 8, 2014, the U.S. Department of Justice sealed Alvin Williams, or Senator Alvin Williams' case file. And in that same file, there are a lot of candidates who are running now who might be coming back again in the same situation. So let them, AG office look into that one too, because that case file has been sealed. And if it is sealed, information is still around about certain candidates seeking political office. So maybe the attorney general wants to watch into that thing. He gave me some cards to look into it. They like to investigate.
Okay, I heard you.
Alright.
But
So that will come tomorrow morning.
This is a general report. The runoff is the 18th.
So tomorrow we meet in the St. Thomas board, tell them that concerns still around with us, sealed from the Department of Justice, not the U.S. Attorney here, the Department of Justice and Alvin
Okay,
Williams
Mr. Bryant.
sentencing and agreement.
Supervisor, you
Okay, go
can,
ahead.
so you do have a copy of the letter, right?
Email.
Email, it's an email. Okay, well.
But a lot of this stuff on the email, like I said, is relevant to the time. But that you said if you want that to
No,
you should know, and
it's
you know they do not.
it's a candidate who is who's running for territorial office, right?
Correct.
So I think all of us should know. Just for my edification, I want to know what's going on.
Anyway, your
Because
spots
it's
are
territorial.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow, after the change season and read up, I will send you a copy.
Thank you.
Anyway, we finish our agenda and thank you for the information, and maybe you could ask a question tomorrow from Mr. Washington. Anybody in the audience have any questions or concerns? There wasn't clear anything else to say. Nobody here?
I do.
Will you go forward for the hearing?
Sure.
You know what, Mike, if I may.
You state your name, please.
Barbara McIntosh. When Mr. Williams was talking about this spoiled ballot, after you mark it, after the facilitator, the clerk, take the ballot, throw it away, throw it in the box, give you another ballot, correct? You go back to the ballot, back of the line, or you get
No.
replaced?
You're queuing,
Queue in where?
the
The judge, or the
facilitator.
facilitator will tell you to come in
Yeah.
wherever, back to the back of the line.
No, to a different section.
No. She said when you don't mark the ballot, where do you go into the, where do you fit into the, like,
Yes,
to the yes or
You
the?
go to the back of the line.
Simply be the next available school to the station.
So they will put you in the next.
Yeah. And if you make it 2 or 3 times or more, then you go to a designated area, so you have more time with the system.
So you go, if it's spoil your ballot, you have X amount of time.
Three
So what
shots.
happens after the third
And
shot?
the fourth try, you can either, with your right to secrecy, sign an affidavit and get assistance.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you could use the Apple Mark as well.
Okay. And if you refuse all of that, then you just
Well,
get.
some people,
All right, thanks.
My question, good morning, I think it still is, was in regards to the poll workers. In the 2012 election, there were some instances where people that went to vote seemingly were not treated, particularly people who were using paper ballots, were not seemingly treated fairly. Is there anything in place this time around? I know we don't have the situation with paper ballots this time. Is there anything in place where we're going to make sure that the trainees, the poll workers, and the judges on sensitive issues interacting with the voter? Any issues that the voters may have had in the past that's going to be addressed in a training session or something like that?
Well, we intend to, because the last time we met to call shoes, I was there listening, and Mr. Ross and Mr. Jackson James was going over and over with the people there what we expect and what they should or shouldn't do. Now, if somebody did something with this, is a poll worker, unless we know that poll worker monitor did voter or so and so, we don't know. So they're telling people and they don't complain.
Well, our group, the action group, has one complaint in particular where the person put in writing that the poll worker said to them, if you cannot read.
But where is the complaint? Have it here? I get one?
I could bring a copy for you.
No, but we could.
But I just that exists. If that exists, if we could address it.
But if you have a complaint and you know the name of the person who made the complaint and nobody here don't have it, we need to see what complaint said or who they had a problem with, and then we can address it with the individual or all the people to explain them. We had this particular incident last time. We expect everybody to not do X, Y, Z. But if you don't give it to us, we don't know.
I will make sure you get a copy. But just, I know we don't have the issue where a voter is going to get, a traditional paper ballot, but we never know what could happen. This is like a test. We're testing a new machine and we're testing new procedure. So I think the public is looking for fair, honest, and transparent election, and that's a little problem. And also the board too.
But
all of you are working hard, Mr. Williams, Mr. Ross, Mr. Weber. That's what this meeting is for, to try to identify problems ahead of time.
Mr. Fox, they will still get an instrument that they have to read. So if we don't know what was said and how it happened,
you're right.
We need to be able to know what was said to the worker, collectively talk to all of them about this situation without calling names and blaming anybody. But if we don't know what happened,
I'll drop a copy off in the morning.
Anything else?
In answer to your question, yes, as I remember, Chairman Bryan says, when we meet with our workers, we talk about sensitivity,
thank you,
respect, tolerance. Not all of us are from the same cloth. Not all of us have the same level of understanding. Patience, we talk about all those virtues of being a good worker. Unfortunately, I can't use the word I want to use, but
you can't be everywhere on election day.
Okay, and it would be very helpful, and when things like that occur, we are told so that we can reinforce, the fact that it needs to be sensitive to it.
And in addition to that, one of our responsibilities requires us to review the judges' manuals after the election. So if something happens on election day, the judge has a responsibility to make a note of it. If it's a complaint similar to what you just made, the judge should be making a note of it, so that when we gather and we review it, we know that we're not going to bring back that also to work. Okay.
So after that, I know. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I guess first time what I found, I don't know in the audit report about some of the reports that were submitted within the judge's book, and then they weren't addressed. So we have to put some procedures in place to make sure that all the complaints are addressed and are closed out. Then there also are election complaints, whatever, that the form is online, And there's some requirements there also that the person name must be in the complaint must be notarized, and then we will have to provide again a timeline whether it's open close, so we have to go into arbitration. So there's some policies and procedures that it's some steps that we have to put in place that we are working on. But again, our complaint is we're not within that day of the judge before the clerk, and you report it to the judge. It's written in the book comes back to the election system. We have to go through the book, look at all the complaints, and some will be addressed by the board and some will be addressed by the election system. So we are working to improve on that process.
Could I expand on that, Ms. Supervisor Fox? So, in some jurisdictions, there's actually a form for an electorate to make a complaint. Does one exist here in the Virgin Islands? And if not, is the board willing to create one? Our group ended up looking at a couple of jurisdictions in 2012, and we created our own form. So I'd like to know if one exists and if the board is willing to have one ready for this election.
I don't know that one exists because I'm not.
If you put it in an automation, what type of form are you talking about?
A complaint form.
I'm drafting one to put online.
Okay, perfect.
I left the state plan so yesterday, so that's why I could read it, regurgitate that word for more than required, because I got some complaints before, but I won't know the rights, so there's no to them calling back the individual, so you can come in, and we have a notary here, so you could get them notarized, I have three in St. Thomas. We created a form, and that's been like to make it a little easier. There were some things on there, I don't want to say that nothing was there, but the similar information that Harvard required was on their complaint procedure process, but it was not timeline. And we have 90 days to get back, based on what the situation is, to respond. So we are trying to update the form, make it user-friendly. So this individual, he did pull the form from online, filled it out, and dropped it in our sit-down office. So the forms are there, we just fine-tune it.
Well, thank you, and we have completed our agenda and questions and so on from the public, and the meeting stands adjourned. Chair. Wasn't that? That's what I'm telling you, at the so wait, don't get the page up, he had that. You put that thing there, you know what it was,